on Walking Through Fire. Join Pastor Tommy Pope Sr. in this compelling and spiritually uplifting biblical talk, as we delve deep into the timeless wisdom of the Bible to explore the profound insights and guidance it offers us when we face the most challenging moments in life. When going gets tough is a message of hope, resilience, and unwavering faith, drawing from the stories of biblical figures who overcame seemingly insurmountable obstacles. During this inspiring talk, we will uncover the extraordinary strength and unwavering faith of individuals like David, who defeated Goliath with a simple stone and unwavering trust in God's plan, and Job, who persevered through immense suffering with his faith intact. Join us for an enlightening exploration of the Bible's wisdom and its relevance in our modern lives. When Going Gets Tough is a message of encouragement for all those facing hardships, reminding us that with faith and perseverance, we can triumph over the most daunting trials and emerge stronger, wiser, and more connected to the Most High God. Here's Pastor Tommy with a message of hope. He titles it, When Going Gets Tough.
Was going all right. But, have you ever thought about that old prior life that we used to live out there? Have you ever wondered, since you come to Christ, have you ever wondered, well, man, it was pretty easy before I come to Christ? Have you ever thought about that? Sometimes we look at the old way of living, we look at that. Have you ever thought about that old prior life? Hold on, we got something going on here. Sorry for the interruption. We've been working on a system, changing it around, and you know how it is when you make changes. That's why people don't like to come out of the comfort zone, because when you make changes sometimes, it's scary like. But have you ever really wondered about, before you come to Christ, how out there in the world everything seemed to be so good, and then all of a sudden it bottomed out and your life just become a wreck, really? And you was looking to doing something different. So you know what? You come to Christ. And when you come to Christ, then you turn right around and you say, man, boy, what I'm glad to be here. And then all of a sudden the bottom fall out, because you think that out there in the world is where the devil at. We hear that a lot sometime about how the devil is out there in the world, and we make it look like that the local church is so blameless and so good. Well, let me tell you something. That's a whole different ball game now. When you start dealing with the church, that's where you're going to run into the devil at. Let me tell you something. It's 911 that you stick as close as you can to Christ. Now, what we're going to be looking at today is we're going to be talking about when the going get tough. When the going get tough. What do we do when the going get tough? Because, you think about it, just really take a good look at it and just think about how things goes. if you just really take a good look at it to see how it go, hey, it looked like that you have a bunch of people for you. But let me tell you where I come from. I want to give you a rundown to where I come from, and then maybe that can help you a little bit of where I come from. When I was out in doing the world thing, and that's what I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it doing the world thing. When I was out there doing the world way, I had a bunch of help. I had people everywhere. I could count on people. We was drinking and we was smoking pot and we was cooking out and we was having a great time. And that old lifestyle like that, somewhere down the road, it'll get the best of you. It'll get the best of you, and you'll find out that that's not the way to go. So now you end up calling on the Lord. And guess what? In his timing, see, he's got a timing. I have a lot of people coming to me about different things, different circumstances, different situations in their life. And what it boiled down to be is we're in a little bit too big of a hurry, because let me tell you why. See, God put each and every one of his creations here with a purpose. We are what we call purpose driven. He put us here with a purpose, and sometimes we still operating in the flesh. Let's just put it that way, because that's what it really is. We still operating in the flesh, and we want things to go our way. Well, you know what? This is not Burger King. You can't have it your way. See, he's got a timing. I have people that say, well, they've been praying for a certain thing so long, and they hadn't seen it yet. I done had people that even say that they've been praying for things and they hadn't seen it. Well, you know what? A lot of times what we do, we get ahead of God. He's got, that's just like giving your children something that's not good for them, or really giving them something that's not time for them. They may be a certain age and they maybe don't need a certain thing till they get another age. Just like now, we give them a cell phone at 5 years old. They don't really need a cell phone that young, but we give them one though. See, so we do. God, Almighty God is not like that. The Father is not like that. He's not going to give you something that you don't need. Now, we're going to be looking at a verse in James today. We're going to look at a verse here in James, and it's going to be found in James chapter 1, verse 17. 1:17. And I want to read that verse to you. It says, every good gift and every perfect gift come from above, and cometh down from the Father of light, whom is no variableness, neither shadows of turning. See, every good and perfect gift come down from the Lord. See, sometimes we'll use stuff like that. Like, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and mention it. I took some time to get this together right here. See, most successful televangelists preach what is called the prosperity gospel. It's what is called the prosperity gospel. And you know something? We all going for that prosperity gospel, not realizing now, but I'm going to tell you how the enemy comes in on us. Watch this. Okay, we use select scriptures. In other words, we have scriptures out of content. We just go get select scriptures, and then we call them the promises of God, which they are the promises of God. Now watch this. They teach that if one give his life to Jesus, and if he follows certain biblical principles, God is obligated to fulfill his promise. A promise maybe like of wealth, a promise like of health, and well-being. It's like God is held obligated to take that select scripture and fulfill it in our lives. Okay, God becomes that way when we got that type of mindset. God becomes no more than David Copperfield, or maybe I Dream of Genie, a genie in a bottle, when we look at it that way. So you got to realize that all of that is out of mere compulsion. See, that's what we do a lot of times. You know, when people get saved and a lot of stuff, we have the music playing and we talk in a certain way and we get the atmosphere a certain way, and they operate out of compulsion. It don't really be a calling. See, salvation is a calling. Salvation is a drawing, and it don't really be that way. It be out of compulsion. And see, and we have so many people thinking out of compulsion, we have them thinking that they got saved. We have them thinking that they on their way to heaven. Okay, but these preachers, that is the abundant life. See, they pick them scriptures out, and that's the abundant life to them, you know, because they use those scriptures out of content, and they have everything. They got the mansions, they got the best of the cars, they got the best of the clothes, they got the best of everything. But see, if you think about it, what Matthew, in the book of Matthew said, Matthew 6, the Sermon on the Mount, he said, you know what? Where your heart, where your treasure is where your heart will be also. So you have to look at that. And when they look at the abundant life that way, guess what? Hundreds of thousands of people follow that. Hundreds of thousands of people follow that prosperity gospel. Okay, it is true that the Bible is full of promises. It is. It is also true that Jesus told us several times in John 14:16 that if you ask anything in my name, I'll do it. It is true. John 14, verse 14. And then you got other verses like John 14:13, 15:7, 16, 23, and 24. And then one of the favorites one I like that I hear used a lot is Psalms 34, 37, and 4, where it said, delight thyself in the Lord, and he shall give you the desires of your heart. These sound like absolute promises, and if God is to be true to his word, he must fulfill them. That's what it sounds like, don't it? But wait, Psalm 37 and 4, delight thyself in the Lord, and he'll give you the desires of your heart. You got to understand what delight means. See, you got to know what delight means. Delight means, in the Hebrew, to take pleasure in his laws, his word, his precept, to have joy, to have gladness, just to be spending time with him. And then when you do that, then what happened is he turned right around and he give you a desire to want. It don't be what we want, because if he gave us everything that we wanted, then we'd be God and he'd be us. But it don't work that way. Okay, now, this is what the televangelists have concluded, but in the end, it is a facial conclusion. Very few of God's promises in the Bible are absolute in nature. See, very few of his promises in the Bible is not in nature. They are instead conditional promises governed not only by our response to God, but fulfilling certain requirements. See, in other words, God is, when you pray and when you ask for something, then what God does, that he goes to work behind the scene to get you ready for that prayer that you have asked him. See, so you got to realize it ain't on your basis. It's on getting you ready for the prayer to be answered. If you just think about what God is doing, see. So just think about that. When you pray, God is getting you ready for the prayer that you have asked him. Now, like the verse we just read, James 1 and 7, he said, give only good and perfect gifts. He will never give one of his children a blessing that will ultimately derail his purpose. See, he's not going to give you a blessing, something that you ask for, just like in other words, most people that's broke and down and out and don't have any money or anything. Well, you pray that for a financial blessing. Well, if he just gave you a financial blessing like you asked for, then guess what? You're going to go way away from him. You're going to get that money that you ain't never had, and you're going to go out there having a good time and partying. So then guess what? Then the Father would be done gave you something that's going to cause you to be derailed and not follow him. See? So, he don't do that. He's not going to give you something that you can't handle. So you got to think about it. Okay, now look, it worked similarly among mere mortals. A human parent would not send his son to vocational school if he really wanted to be a doctor. See, so they wouldn't send him to vocational school if he really wanted to be a doctor. Or you can look at it this way. Would you give your child thousands of dollars to go to Toys R Us? What you think they'll do? What you think they'll do if they had thousands of dollars and go to Toys? See, so you got to look at how God is operating this thing. Now, I want you to look at something. I want you to think about, we're going to look at Abraham right quick. We're going to look at him. The faithful Abraham and Sarah are good examples of what we're talking about now, of this aspect of God's promises. In Genesis 12:2, God tells Abraham at 75 years old, at the time in verse 4, that he would make of him a great nation, implying that he would have children. God made this promise again in verse 7. Listen to the promise he made in verse 7. The Lord appeared to Abraham and said, to your descendants I will give this land. Yea, he does not give Abraham the promised child when he is 76 or 78 or 80. He didn't do that. Now, after this rescue of Lot from the confederation of kings, Abraham pleads with God in Genesis 15, verse 2-3. He is now 80 years old. Now watch this. For an heir, God repeats the promise, and Abraham believes him in verse 4-6. Yet Sarah does not become pregnant at any time soon. Later, after Ishmael is born, or Hagar, when Abraham was 86 years old. See, so you see how Abraham and Sarah, they got ahead of God by Sarah giving Hagar to Abraham to get that child. See, just because God made that promise to him, and it was a promise, but they got ahead of God trying to do it themselves. Now, in Genesis 16:16, the patriarch wondered, is this the promised seed? They were looking at Ishmael to see if that was the promised seed. But when the boy is 13, Abraham is now 99 years old. God reiterates, so Sarah, your wife, shall bear a son. See, now, Abraham and Sarah had got ahead of God and had Ishmael through Hagar. Now, that was in Genesis 17. Now, finally, in Genesis 21, 1-2, the Lord visited Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did for Sarah as he had spoken. For Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time of which God had spoken to him, at a set time. Now, Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him and Sarah in Genesis 21, 1 through 2. Now, I want you to see what happened here when he was 100 years old. See, they gave up on it. They thought maybe that Hagar was going to produce the son, Ishmael, that was going to be the promised son. They got ahead of God. See, and a lot of times that's what we do now. We get ahead of God because, let me tell you, he has a purpose, he has a plan, and a lot of time we get ahead of him. We get ahead of him. Now, evidently, a great deal had to happen in the lives of Abraham and Sarah. See, before he could bear that son, he was working behind the scenes to get them prepared. See, so just like you and I, when we are standing on his promises, you know, like we said, a televangelist make it look like that you just pick out random scriptures and you stand on them and God will produce it. Just like everybody want a financial blessing. Everybody do. But guess what? Everybody can't handle a financial blessing because guess what? It may cause them to get derailed if he just gave the average person out there that's not used to money, if he just gave them money. It would cause them to be derailed. And God loved you and his children so much that he wouldn't do that. Now, predominantly in terms of spiritual maturity, before God felt the right time had come to give them they promised baby boy. See, God waited to the right time. He had them prepared for that son that he promised them. Just like that blessing, that financial blessing he maybe done promised you. He are preparing you for that financial blessing. Just like healing. You have prayed and asked God to heal. And his word said that he sent his word to heal us and deliver us from all our destructions. His word said with his stripe we are healed. But then he, behind the scenes, he have to prepare you and I for the change that's necessary for that healing. Because other than that, we are looking at a mere David Copperfield, God to just snap his finger and everything we're healed and everything fall in place. Or maybe like a genie in a bottle to where we ask him and everything is done. But no, it don't work that way. He have to start preparing each and every one of us when we ask for that special blessing, whatever it may be. He have to behind the scenes start working to prepare us for that. So I just want you to know that. Now, watch this. God performed a miracle to allow Sarah to conceive at a set time. See, it was at a set time. Age didn't have anything to do with it. You know, like you and I will say, well, Lord, you know, we're getting a little bit older now. You know, we getting, no, it didn't have anything to do with that. God had a set specific time, just like he do for your life and my life. We do such a disservice most of the time talking people into going to church when it's a calling. Church is a drawing. It's not nothing that you just choose to do. Now, if you go to if you go to John 16, you'll see that. It said, you have not chosen him, he chose you. See, so we do such a disservice with people by just being impatient, in other words, by trying to be God. There was one perfect time for this promise to be fulfilled. And God fulfilled it when all the conditions was right. See, God, he moved when all the conditions was right. See, so I'm here today to tell you, you cannot, and I want you to think of this. I want you to really, really take a good thought. We, most of the time, with our human nature and a lot of different people misleading us into thinking that we can just ask anything and he'll give it to us. Well, let me tell you what, that is a promise of God. And that promise is yes and amen. But there is, I want you to hear this, there is a preparation. In other words, God has to go to work behind the scenes to prepare you for what he has given, what you have asked. Other than that, if it's a wink of the nose and you got it, it will cause you to derail. And I know a lot of people have been taught wrong. And it's got them down and out and depressed and wondering what's going on. A lot of people have. But you know, I want you to hear this, and I want you to hear this well. And we're going to get ready to close. When the going get tough, you have to turn to Jesus, and not only turn to him, but do it his way. In other words, what we're saying is we have to wait on him, because I want you to hear this, because he is basically behind the scenes getting you ready for that answered prayer. He is behind the scenes getting you ready for that answered prayer. So the next time that you have a promise of God and you are waiting on it, you're praying on it, always remember that God is behind the scenes getting you ready for the answered prayer. He is, and I tell you, and not only is he getting you ready for the answered prayer, he loves you so much that he don't want to give you something that's going to cause you to veer away from him. He's a loving father, and he loves you today, and whatever he do for you, it's going to be right. Every good and perfect gift come from above, from the Father of light. Okay? Well, I tell you what, I enjoyed it today. We're going to make it short. We look forward to seeing you Wednesday on the live prayer. Okay? God bless you and keep you is my prayer, and we'll see you Wednesday. Shalom.
Thank you for watching Walking Through Fire with Pastor Tommy Pope Sr. I'm Rosie. On behalf of Pastor Tommy and the live stream family, I would like to encourage you to share your favorite teachings with family, friends, co-workers, and people you meet. If Tommy's teaching benefits you and your family, please consider making a monthly donation of any size that's comfortable for you. If you are in the United States, call 800-717-9569 extension 801. 800-717-9569 extension 801, or our website at www.unbrokencovenant.org/give today. Or you can mail a check to Unbroken Covenant Church, P.O. Box 323, Cedartown, Georgia 30125. And we will send you a copy of Pastor Tommy's most recent CD series, Living a Blessed Life, Part 1, Instructions from the Coach. His teaching will help you grow closer in your walk with Jesus, and help you gain knowledge and insight into the will and purposes of God, and a pleasing walk. spiritual power 4, steadfastness and patience, and a thankful heart. We look forward to seeing you on the next Walking Through Fire with Pastor Tommy.